So over the weekend, it has been reported that Donald Trump has raised over $200 million. Million with an M. We wish it was billion, but it's million. And now, to be fair, $100 million is coming from one large donor who's going to be using this money towards probably their own campaign or super PACs, but $70 million from small donors, $30 million from larger donors, a massive influx of new, never before donating donors. And we have some polls coming out among independent voters showing that after the guilty verdict, Trump is up. Now, of course, everybody's got their polls. We got people on the left saying, no, Trump's down, and everyone's going to choose their polls. So take that with a grain of salt. I think money talks and BS walks. So we're going to talk about that. We got a bunch of funny news. Of course, the Fauci testimony was today, and we didn't really learn much. Fauci just lied again and lied about lying, so that's interesting. And then, of course, we have UFC, where Kevin Holland and Strickland jumped out of the ring to go and meet Donald Trump. The whole crowd's cheering for him. It was absolutely incredible. And the media is trying to lie to claim that Aaron Rodgers snubbed Donald Trump when he didn't. He went up, shook his hand, and said it was priceless. So we'll talk about that, plus a bunch of other funny news from the weekend. Before we get started, my friends, head over to castbrew.com, and you can buy Ian's Graphene Dream, our new Ian Crossland low acidity blend. It's Ian's Graphene Dream, now available. Of course, Cast Brew is our coffee company. We sponsor ourselves. And everybody's favorite is Appalachian Nights, but you can try whichever one you like. Rise with Roberto Jr., sold out apparently of ground roast, so maybe not that one, maybe a whole bean. But we also have Stand Your Grounds if you like a medium roast, and buy our coffee. If you do, you are helping support the show. Also, head over to timcast.com, click Join Us, become a member, support our work directly. As a member, you get access to the members-only, uncensored call-in show. And we've got a juicy one for you tonight because we're going to say this one for the members only. But, yours truly, we were highlighted by the Biden campaign themselves, apparently interviewing the president and then having some controversial shows leading up to an election is going to get you noticed, and we're going to talk about that, but it's a little spicy, so we'll save that for the members only call-in show. If you are a member, you sign up for the Discord server, submit questions. I recommend you guys do because you get to call in to talk to us and our guests, literally any one of you. You've got to be a member for at least 6 months or sign up at the $25 per month level. That's our screening process because we get a lot of weirdos who try and come in and cause problems for our admins and stuff like that. And then you submit a question. Everybody votes on it. And if your question is good and people want to hear the question asked, you will be on the show with us. So smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with all of your friends right now. Click that share button, copy and paste that URL, post it on every social media platform. That really does help. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more is Ron Coleman. Esquire, is that what I say?
Ron Coleman. If you're going to say Esquire, then you have to say Ronald D. Coleman. And you have to take a break after the Ronald before you say D, or else it'll sound like Ronaldi, like Chef Boyardee. And the number of times I've had people ask me for recipes as a result of that mistake, I can't even. Forget about it.
And you guys thought my name was complicated.
His name's Ron. It's very easy. Who are you? What do you do?
I'm Ron Coleman. Come on. Jesus Christ.
He's a lawyer.
He's a lawyer.
I'm a lawyer. Yeah, that's it. I'm Ron Coleman.
Well, all right. Thanks for hanging out, Ron Coleman. We got a lot to talk about. Phil's hanging out.
How you doing, everybody? My name is Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and a counter-revolutionary. How you doing, Hannah Claire?
I'm good. Happy Monday, everyone. I'm Hannah Claire Brummel. I'm a writer for SCNR.com. I'm happy to be back. Hi, Serge.
Hey, Hannah Claire. Hey, y'all. Let's just start.
Here we go. The big news from the weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, from the Daily Mail, Donald Trump campaign has raised over $200 million in just 3 days since the guilty felony verdict, son Eric Trump claims. Eric Trump says $70 million has flown into campaign coffers from small donors. The Trump heir also noted how gangster Al Capone has less felonies than his dad. Okay. So I think it's important to point out. Fewer, that's right. Grammatical error there. We don't tolerate that. But the $100 million is coming from it's Miriam Adelson, Israeli-American Miriam Adelson, the wife of the late casino magnate Sheldon Adelson, reportedly pledging $100 million to the Trump campaign in the days since his criminal conviction, according to The Forward. Now, this is the way that will break down is likely going to super PACs. We saw another guy. What was his name? Sean McGuire. Was that his name? some Silicon Valley dude saying 300K was going towards Trump. They're likely putting that into pro-Trump political action committees because the maximum right now per election is 3,300. So you can't give more than that. But if you give to like a private group that supports Trump, they can spend whatever they want.
So those limits are really meaningful, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's silly. But, they say that the campaign can't coordinate with the super PACs. So here's how they do it. Before the group forms a super PAC.
Here's how they coordinate.
Exactly. So John Doe goes to insert politician, Trump, Clinton, whoever, Biden, and says, what would you like to see if you could see commercials? And they go, oh, I'd love to see ads. Here's a list of everything we want done. They go, wow, that's really interesting. Thanks for your opinion. Then they leave. Then they form a super PAC. Then they take in a bunch of money from their buddies and say, we're not coordinating. We formed the super PAC. Since we formed the super PAC, we haven't had a single meeting with him. And then they do exactly what the campaign wants. And then it's also funny, too, because Biden can come out and he could say, I really wish those guys would run commercials of me championing my new border policy. And then they will. Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous.
The point calling it ridiculous is about as accurate as you can get. The idea that you need to tell Republicans generally what Republicans want. It's like once you know how to be a Catholic, you can just go ahead and do the Catholic things, and you're doing Catholic stuff. Like once you know generally what the logic that goes into conservative values is, the people that the people that came up with the philosophies, and you understand it. You don't have to be dictated specifically what to do. The differences will be nuanced and something that most Republicans aren't going to fight you on.
So let's cut out the $100 million. And
the same goes for Democrats too.
Right. Let's cut out the $100 million from Miriam Adelson because that's a pledge of an elite. I do think it matters, but we'll get to that in a second. $100 million in donations, $70 million from small-time donors. This is record. This is record-breaking fundraising for the Trump campaign. Is it fair to say that the guilty verdict has backfired as we all expected? I think it is, but it doesn't mean the Democrats aren't getting something out of it.
That's correct. If they thought that it would result in an immediate evaporation of support and Republicans heading for the exits, that was stupid. And we knew that was stupid already 6 months ago, although this plan was put into place well before that. But you're right. Yes, they may not have counted on a tidal wave of additional donations, but they still have the raw material with which to do some nasty things, and they're already trying to do them. They're not being particularly effective, but remember, it's only June. They haven't even started. This is like step 14 of 37 that are going to be rolled out between now and Election Day.
Yeah, I think they're going to try and put him in jail. I was saying that last week I figured house arrest, and then it was Brandon Strzok who made the apt point that why they keep going to the most extreme degree. They're not stopping. And then I thought about it. And I think he's right because I remember when he's not going to get impeached. They're not going to impeach him. They wouldn't go that far. Then they did. And then they're not going to criminally charge him. They wouldn't go that far. They wouldn't raid his house. It's never going to happen. He's not going to be found guilty. He'll never be found guilty. No, he's not going to go to jail. Everyone keeps saying the same thing. And that's a snowball rolling down the hill. They're not slowing down.
Mm-hmm. So here we have, nonetheless, like the premise of your question was, all right, could they have anticipated that there would be such a huge influx of money? And yes, there's at least one poll out there that says that some people have, this is frankly inconceivable to me, that there would be someone who liked Donald Trump before the jury returned. And when the jury came back, they said, "Oh, what was I thinking?" That to me, who's that person? What is the nature of that brain damage? What part of the brain is actually damaged? But
there could be people who fake it.
Is there a point? Well, they generally say there's a lot of that with polling.
Yeah.
Okay, but what is the point at which you, as a Democrat dirty trickster, that's what these all are. These are all dirty tricks. Say, are we the baddies here, or are we the dummies here? Is there a point at which they say
But that would require a level of self-reflection and honesty. And I don't
no,
think
no,
that's
no.
fair.
That was a softball for you.
But I disagree though. I think, the issue I take with if you look at a lot of, I'll call it older comic books, movies, it was one-dimensional villains, and then we started getting this shift into characters with depth, most notably Mr. Freeze. The Batman animated series won an Emmy because the villain's motivation was that his wife was dying of an incurable disease, and so he wasn't trying to take over the world to be evil, he was trying to save his wife, but he didn't care who he hurt. The Democrats know what they're doing, and they think they're allowed to do it because there is no truth but power. It is not comic book villainy.
True.
The Democrats don't ever, there will never come a point where they look in the mirror and go, I'm the bad guy.
No.
They think,
100%. Yeah.
I'm justified in doing what I do because what I want is all that matters.
Oh, so when I said, are we the baddies, I did not in any way mean to suggest that there was any ethical reflection going on. That would be, what I meant was, are we the dummies? Is there a point at which they recognize we're getting the opposite result?
I say nay, good sir.
I think you're right.
It is like the Goblin King. Are you familiar with the Goblin King? I'm going to do all of the nerd references possible.
No, you stumped me with the Goblin King.
To become Goblin King, you must kill the King of the Goblins. And so it's a never-ending cycle of
Sounds like the
chaos.
Roman Empire to me.
Of that, yeah, absolutely. The idea is that there's never any stability because the only thing that's ever happening is one person is plotting to take the space of the other person. I see the Democrats as a cacophony of corruption. It is chaos. It is a destructive force. It's effectively a fire in our government. It's a political social fire consuming and destroying and spreading.
Moreover, there isn't a central figure, a hero, who can say, even if that person were Hillary Clinton, hey, I don't want to be known for this. I don't want this to be how I'm remembered. There is no person. They have a blow-up doll for a president.
Okay. That's putting it nicely. Blow-up dolls are firm and can rest.
I wouldn't know. But what they have demonstrated, and that's why the Fetterman thing really is driving them up the wall, because he was supposed to be another golem. They're not. It's kind of like modern Disney. You don't produce movie stars. You produce characters.
Yeah.
And whoever plays that character just has to fit in the costume.
Right.
So there's no there there. In contradistinction to what's happened to the Republican Party, where it has become entirely about one man, one person, and his personality. It's an interesting way of looking at it, Tim. But you're right. There is no limiting. Certainly, principles are off the table.
I don't think that there is a cabal that's got a plan for what's ahead. I think it is varied interests. Just it's effectively fire.
Keep it rolling. Just keep it rolling.
Right. Don't stop. Is fire powerful? Yes. Does it spread? Yes. Does it destroy? Does it take over? Yes. Yes. All of these things. Could a large enough fire be unstoppable? Absolutely. But it's got no plan. So what I mean to say is, it's a little bit more complicated than to just say fire. For my analogy, but when I look at why they're going after Trump, it's because they're like, destroy him. And then step 2 is question mark, and step 3 is profit. That's how I view how the Democrats operate. They are getting something out of it. They're all screaming convicted felon. But that's like plan 1, we call Trump a convicted felon. Step 2, question mark. Step 3, profit. They will keep going. The next step is going to be, well, then if that didn't work, put him in prison. And they're going to keep doing it without, I can simplify it for you. They're first order thinkers.
You think the complicated version somehow eluded me? Okay, it's okay.
Well, I just mean for the average person.
It's a rhetorical. Oh, fair enough. Okay.
The Democrats and the woke and the left are first order thinkers. It's all about short term gains. They can't contemplate the long term losses. So in their mind, I know if we convict Trump, then he'll be a felon, and that's all they think.
And that's why they go into alliances with forces and ideologies that are inherently opposed to what they. Why does a guy like Senator Scumbag from New York, Schumer, why would he agree to empower all these rank anti-Semites? I mean, doesn't he even care a little bit? Doesn't he even care a tiny little bit? Or people who stand for everything that he has built his career on the opposite of. Answer, he gets to stay in charge. Nominally in charge.
Yeah.
That is all it's about.
I mean, I got to be honest. I look at the leadership, and they're probably just thinking, you've got Nancy Pelosi. Well, if I lose my position, I can't trade stocks anymore. And and that's it. I don't think she cares about the government. I think she's thinking about, look, I need this money for this reason. I have plans for this. I'm here for my plans for this.
And that's why
I would say
so many Republicans are doing this the exact same.
I was going to say, Nancy Pelosi is such an interesting example in that case because she's lost her position in House leadership. She stepped down from it. She still hasn't retired. She's still in Congress, and yet she's crazy wealthy, right? And her husband's attacker is going away for 30 years. And, why not just stop? Why not walk away? Except there is an inherent need to hold on to power for as long as possible. And that's the same party that says, oh, well, we really should have young people stepping up and, doing whatever. Except they have some of the oldest members of both chambers clinging to the chairs that they're in, saying, we won't leave. You need us.
Let's jump to this next story. We have this from the Post-Millennial. Independents favor Trump by 12 points despite guilty verdict. INI and TIPP poll. Trump leads Biden 38 to 26% among independent voters. And I tell you what, I imagine that come election time, it's going to shift even more in favor of Trump. According to a recent poll by Issues and Insight, TIPP, Trump made gains against Biden in the court of public opinion despite being found guilty in the NYC falsified documents case. Among independent voters, Trump leads Biden with 38 to 26 going into June. The national poll was conducted between May 29th and 31st of 1,675 registered voters with a margin of error of 2.5%. And the verdict issued on May 30th did not seem to weaken his support. And that's smack in the middle. I will say this. I want to see the polls coming out next week to see. But look, we can pull up this poll. There are other polls showing the national level polls showing the opposite. Biden's up by a point or two. Democrats are choosing their polls and saying this proves my point. So I'll say this. Maybe this one poll, we don't know if it means anything. It's a poll that came out. Of course, we like it because it favors, how we see the world. Money talks. Donald Trump raising money, in my opinion, is what matters most. Yeah. There's a viral tweet from a guy who says, I'm supporting RFK Jr., but I've had enough. I am donating to Donald Trump now.
But if that's true, then that goes back to my question. At some point, the Democrats have to say, yes, we're motivated by irrationality and hatred, and it's our brand to be anti-Trump. But when they look at the numbers, shouldn't someone say, the more, and I've got an answer, it's a rhetorical question, the more we jack it up, the worse it gets for us, the more money. The answer is, these are the same people who say, the more we do stupid policy X and the worse the results are, means we're not doing it enough. Minimum wage is killing jobs. It's because it's not high enough.
Yep. It should be $50, remember, in California?
So their ideas can't be wrong, right? It's so interesting that there's sort of no level of self-reflection to at the cost of the American people. I mean, even everything we were talking about before, they're saying we really have to continue down this path. We really have to convict Donald Trump. We really need to do these extreme things. We need to make him look bad. Even though independent voters are like, no, that's not working for us. They're like, no, we'll just continue. We'll continue down this. This is the only way forward. And eventually they'll bend to our will. Like, that's the party's narrative, which is bizarre.
I still strongly believe that they look at this like we've set this in motion and we don't know how to stop it. I think that that's really the situation, because as things do degrade, they're noticing. They have members leaving. Manchin resigned. Like, you have people on CNN specific coming out and are really well respected to people too. Like someone like Fareed Zakaria is looked at as really well respected on CNN. So and to the viewers. So someone like that coming out and articulating very openly that this is a political persecution. The only reason Donald Trump is being attacked or being prosecuted is because of his name, because he's Donald Trump. That kind of confirmation of the criticisms coming from the right shakes the narrative that the right is always to be laughed at and to be mocked, because at some point your average person starts to say, wait a minute, I've seen what's happened the previous 4 years when Donald Trump was in office and how the media behaved and how they acted. And I didn't like Donald Trump, but they seemed like they didn't like him. And so it seemed fine to me, whatever. But then afterwards, it seems like blah, 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 and everything's gone kind of to crap with the Biden administration, and now they're still going after this guy. And I think that the average person is just like, I kind of don't buy it. And I think that you're seeing that in the evidences and stuff like the donation.
I got to tell you, I'm hanging out this weekend. A lot of regular people. I went to, what do we do? We went skated at a skate park and we went to the Hagerstown skate park. We're just touching grass. That's what we're doing.
That's beautiful, by the way.
Beautiful, touching grass. And
I wish I could do that.
A guy said to me,
so far above the grass. What can I do?
a guy said to me, do you think they're going to arrest Trump? And I said, my guy,
Keep up.
they've arrested him like 4 times already. And he was like, what do you mean? And I was like, yeah, he's been arrested like 4 times. Like, oh, wow. I thought we were waiting to hear if he was going to get charged. And I was like, my dude, he has been charged many times. They just convicted him in New York. And he's like, oh, wow. And I'm like, and this is a suburb about an hour from D.C.
Yeah.
I'm like, if this is the level of like penetration that the Democrat narrative is reaching, I don't know if it's working for anybody.
Very good point. Like really close to D.C., within an hour of D.C., and people are still like, what?
But it's because there were too many cases, right? Like Trump got
No, it's
charged
because
with
people
everything.
don't care.
No,
They don't care.
I think
They
it's a
don't care.
combination. I think if you were to think, I don't care, I'm not interested in politics, but maybe 1 or 2 headlines get through to me, like maybe they would know something. But at this point, it's been a bunch of different states. It's a bunch of different cases. He's sometimes by himself. He's sometimes with a group. Like at a certain point, the average American who has real things to worry about is just going to tune it all out.
But I mean, which they must have considered, because clearly a shotgun approach was contemplated and executed here. We're going to make him convicted felon somewhere, or maybe even everywhere if we like can. And the messaging that came out immediately, convicted felon, convicted, as if that, like, the irony is they've destroyed mores and norms. But then they expect people, and they can get this from the likes of the corporate media. But outside of the corporate media and a few smooth-brained Republicans, to be fair, what they expect is for people to say, well, according to our traditional conceptions, who could possibly vote for a convicted felon? Like, they don't see that they've completely destroyed the moral and cultural premise that they're trying to leverage.
My favorite thing is you had who was it who said they wanted a list? It was a
The Federalist.
Federalist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sean Davis? Is that his name? No.
Sean.
Mike Davis.
No, the Federalist CEO. His name is Sean. I'm forgetting. I'm blanking on his last name, but he said make a list of.
Oh, Sean. He's Sean Davis. Yeah.
It is Sean Davis. He said make a list of the Democrats who should be arrested and charged.
Yeah. He's.
But I agree, and my point was, and I said this: we will investigate where there are crimes. We will criminally charge. Where there are charges, there will be trials, and where there are trials and we see convictions, we will then imprison the people who've broken the law.
Who's we?
We the people.
Okay.
The state.
Okay, so sit down. I've got something to tell you, and it's going to make you sad. We have no say in the matter. Donald Trump was president of the United States for 4 glorious years, and he couldn't get the Justice Department to do jack. In fact, they were in the process of executing.
So my point was, I wasn't saying, I was not making the point that literally we are going to rely now on Donald Trump getting the job done. My point was, Sean said we should put lists together of people who should be arrested. And I agreed. And then what we see from the left is this knee-jerk reaction where they say, oh my God, they're talking about putting us in jail. These people are crazy. And I'm like, y'all just said literally the same thing I did about Trump. My point was, I take their own words they said about Trump. It's due process. It's the law. There's crimes. This is how juries work. And then I said the exact same thing, and their brains exploded.
Hypocrisy has not been a problem for them for a very, very long time.
Well, for the average person on Twitter, on X,
Okay.
the prominent...
Those are not the average person.
So for these personalities who are prominent in media, who lack the cognitive capabilities to understand that I am saying their own words back at them, though these people, this is what we're up against essentially.
Yep.
It's not that they're hypocrites; it's that they lack cognitive function.
Really, seriously, you think that they don't that they don't follow the logic?
BuzzFeed writers and people who work at Facebook and people who work at Vox do not have the capabilities of mind to understand logic. I can tell you this as someone with experience, having worked with some of these people. They do not. I remember when I worked at Fusion and one woman had $1. She took $1 and she drew a line at the 77% mark and scribbled out a block. She put it in her cubicle and then she put it said something like my goal or whatever. It's like finish the rest or something. And I'm just like, there's a person who's never read 2 sentences about something she dedicated 5 minutes to making art for in her cubicle. Logic is lost on these people. So they're sitting there going, but Donald Trump was convicted. And I say, oh, I'd like to charge and convict Democrats. He's going to charge and convict Democrats. Yeah, okay, I don't care. Like, the little kid didn't realize that that whipping their ice cream on the floor meant they can't eat it anymore. And now they're crying about it. Yeah. You open the door to this. We try to be polite. You open the door stays open. That's where we go.
Do you agree with Tim that people are that anyone could actually get a driver's license, register to vote, buy groceries every week, and not have the cognitive capacity to understand? Because I think let's put it this way. I think short of saying that they're sitting there and saying I'm being a cynical SOB and I'm Snidely Whiplash. What I think is equally possible is that they are in a sort of psychological emotional denial loop.
That's what I think it is.
It's cognitive dissonance.
Right.
So it's not cognitive malfunction, or I guess dissonance is a kind of malfunction. Because I think this is what you find when you try to engage any of these people. This is what you're referring to, Tim, right? When you try to have the conversation with them, they short out.
Well, right. It's a developmental disability. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean or make a joke. I mean that literally. So we're looking at. I see a lot of young people posting their TikToks, and they don't understand how to succeed and survive. They don't understand how to generate wealth. They don't understand markets. What's going to happen to a generation that can't figure out how to produce things of value to exchange so they can get food and shelter? Communism.
The Visigoths will find employment for them.
They will scream, I demand the government do it for me, because they don't know how to do it. And the problem is not that these individuals were, I should say, it is a problem to a certain extent that they were indoctrinated by communists. But that was only possible because the previous generation did not properly equip them as children and teach them and develop the neural pathways required.
That's my generation, by the way.
By the time you're in your mid-20s, the likelihood that these developmentally stunted people are going to figure it out on their own is close to zero. They can be imagine overnight we erased human civilization. What do you think would happen? Humans are all standing there in their clothes with their watches and their phones, and they're in the woods. I'll tell you what's going to happen. Majority of rural conservatives aren't going to notice. Maybe not a majority. A large portion. Let's say a large portion of rural conservatives don't notice. A week goes by, and they go, "Hey, wait a minute! The market's gone." People in the cities are beating each other to death and drinking their blood within 2 or 3 days. Not an exaggeration. Yeah. Where are they getting water from in New York? They don't know. And there's way too many people for that water distribution.
They don't even know water comes from a cow.
That's right. They don't know what I tell you, this is crazy. This is crazy. I grew up in a Great Lakes state. We know exactly where our water is coming from. We know where the water, because you do. It's like, there's the lake. And it's a big issue that the lake gets depleted. So every year they say, oh, there's a big, they're restricting water use. They're telling everyone to calm down because it was X amount down. It needs to replenish. That's what you have to do. And there's a Great Lakes Coalition in trees. New Yorkers don't know where their water comes from. They could not tell you. They wouldn't be able to tell you. I knew one guy who told me once when I was there, I think he comes up north from the mountains, it pours down. So there's a natural pressure that they have that allows them to maintain their the water pressure up to a certain height in the buildings. Most people wouldn't know.
Well, they also don't know why that water tower on the top of the building's up there.
No idea. No, they have no idea. And so if civilization everyone woke up and it was just, we have erased all signs of human civilization, I would say the conservatives who live in the cities they'd be in trouble, but they'd probably be the first to flee. They'd have some general understanding. Conservatives in rural areas overwhelmingly would be like, well, that's strange. And then they'd start building and putting things back together. And then there'd be a lot that would have no idea. I mean, I suppose if we're talking about no houses or anything.
Okay, you've gotten a bit far afield, I think, from the point that I think, and therefore, bring it home. Bring it home for me.
My point is these people lack the capabilities as adults to understand 1 + 1 = 2.
Gravity is a mystery to them.
2 + 2 = 5 to them.
Yeah, right.
That's not an exaggeration.
No, it's not an exaggeration.
I think there is. I agree with what you're saying. I think there is a level of there's inherent resistance to logic, whether it's because they literally cannot understand it or because they are so
It's
emotionally tied up in what the ideology they believe in that they just push away from it. I saw this video today, and I wish I could give credit whoever made it. It was a man on the street asking these girls, and I think in Arizona, which one of these two guys would you date? And one of them is like pink hair, he's chubby, he's like holding a donut, he looks weird. The other guy is like ripped and handsome, he's wearing a Trump t-shirt. And these girls kept being like, oh, well, the pink-haired guy looks nice, and I don't really like buff guys. And it was like back to back to back, and you can see what the subtext is. They say, you're wearing a Trump shirt, I can't pick you, I can't like this guy, I can't even acknowledge that he's more attractive.
Or is it what they say for public consumption?
Of course.
That's the point.
Yeah.
There was
was that the point you were making? Or were you saying that they're fooling themselves? Or they don't want to be seen?
I don't want to assume either one. Either way, whether they're fooling themselves or they're just saying like, well, no one would associate.
Either way, it's the same.
Either way, it doesn't matter because it's just this is how this group of people is making decisions. It took one girl eventually who was like, no, I date the ripped guy. He looks conservative and he works out. That looks great. Like all of these girls probably would say the same thing, but they feel as though whether they're really, really ignoring the logic, they really believe they don't like attractive men, or the Trump shirt is so repulsive to them that they know they cannot be associated with any way, and that this is being recorded, it's probably going online. Like, it's a level of delusion that I just think will bring society down.
But it's also, they're thinking, if I show up to a party with this guy, I'm going to get made fun of. And so I can't do that.
The Trump guy. Because
he's not even real. Right. Like, these are just fake pictures. They're not even standing in front of them. They have to be dissociated from it.
Let's jump to this story. I want to talk to you about a 200 IQ person. There's this video going around, and I tried to edit it so that it could be more easily visible, but I'm gonna play this for you. The quick gist. There is a company selling coins with Trump being inaugurated, sworn in, and on the back, Biden in prison. And the same commercial has Biden being sworn in with Trump in prison because they don't care about politics. They care about money. Here you go.
Trump coin features a victorious Trump sworn in as president on the front and Biden in prison on the back.
This is awesome.
Biden coin features a victorious Biden sworn in as president on the front and Trump in prison on the back.
If you're wondering what to get me for Christmas,
has been minted in
both of them.
Detail and layered in pure 0.999 silver.
Someone's got to win, someone's got to lose.
Intricate detail.
Now hold on. I'm going to play that back. Listen.
Minted in exquisite detail and layered in pure 0.999 silver.
Did you catch that?
Yes, layered.
That's
garbage.
Right. That's right.
Garbage.
It's not real silver. I bought two.
Intricate detail are stunning. Each magnificent piece comes with a custom double-sided display case that showcases both sides for preservation and protection from a signed certificate of authenticity.
Silver plated.
We are putting this on the wall.
That is silver plated. That's some bunk, man.
The price was to be set at $89. However, during this $89, you can get your choice of the pro-Biden or pro-Trump coin for just $39.99, protected by our 60-day money.
Even that's
now
cheaper than an ounce.
That is masterfully done. They're layered coins. They have a 24 karat one, clearly not gold because it's like $60. And they're playing both sides in the same commercial. Yeah, brilliant. I ordered a 2-pack. It comes with one of each coin, so we get two of each coin. We're gonna put them in the green. We'll put them on a shelf.
You realize how many you just sold? Forget about bought.
Yeah, right. They should give you yours for free.
Yeah, they should pay us.
Listen, send them send a whole box full of both of them.
Let me tell you how smart they are.
I'm making no comment about the intellectual property aspects of this.
Let me tell you about how smart they are. President Prison, it's presidentprison.com, and they are tracking the amount of sales they have between the two coins. You ever go to a coffee shop and the tip jars actually there's 2 jars and it says, what kind of dog is better? And it's like golden retriever or Labrador. Mm-hmm. And then it's a trick so that you're like, oh, I have to make sure Labrador wins or whatever. And you get a bunch of money. This is what they're doing. They're sitting there saying, I know for a fact that when this word gets out, Trump supporters are not going to allow Biden to win this. And they are going to buy 50 of these coins. They're going to be giving them out as gifts. The Biden people, they can't be bothered.
Not like they can't be bothered. They don't think it's funny. It's not funny. That's not funny.
I also think it's weird that this says official 2024 president/Persian trademark. Like, this is going to be something we just do from now on. This is part of the collection. Isn't that weird?
I love that there's jail on the back of both of them.
That's right.
Both of them are going to prison.
In 2028, there'll be another version of this.
This is a really important point.
Yes.
It is a really, really important point. Because we have changed. This is an acknowledgement that we have absolutely changed the rules. The rules are different. The entire dialogue is different. That is what happens when you throw norms out the window for that short-term political hit.
And no matter how much they say that this is just because it's Donald Trump, it will not be just Donald Trump. This will be the new norm. Even if it's not the next Republican, it'll be the one after it. This is not going to go back to the way things were.
I got an idea.
The official 2032 coin. I mean, who's on the back of that one?
Hold on. I got an idea. What if just for now on, like the 28th Amendment is just if you run for office and lose, you go to prison.
Straight to jail.
Straight
automatically.
to jail.
I love it.
No reason. And it's just like you better really want to run and you better win. Otherwise, we're locking you up.
And then if you complete your term and everyone like votes at the end of your term, and if you get a positive, then you get like a big bankroll. You get a bank. You get all the normal stuff a president gets. Then blah blah blah. But if you kind of sucked, you go to jail.
I want to point out.
Straight to jail.
Take more psychopaths off the street. I'm fine with that.
When I first saw this, it was this morning. It was actually Biden was at 34%, and Trump was actually way up. Actually, I think he might have been at 32. I think I tweeted it actually. Let me see if I can pull it up. I actually have.
I'd like to see the auditing on these numbers because just to go back to your point.
Yeah, he was at 34 to Trump 64.
So if what you say is true and it's Trump people who are going to go out of their way, so all they have to do is just keep playing with the blue number. Whenever it gets interesting,
you get a wave of Republicans buying the other one. I want to know how many they made. Like, did they make twice as many Trump coins as did Biden, or they have an equal amount made?
They probably make them tomorrow. If you order it today, they make it tomorrow and ship it the day after. Seriously.
Layered in silver,
which
means don't take it out of the case because it'll chip.
Yeah, exactly.
Spray painted in silver paint. Basically.
Are you guys going to get this one or the 2028 one or the?
I want the chocolate one.
Oh,
the chocolate one's probably better.
I think they should. It shouldn't just be president. Like I want an AOC behind bars. I don't know what she did. She's kind of annoying. I don't know if she's done anything illegal, but why not?
Women who are kind of annoying get to go to jail.
Just make the coin. It's funny.
She was a bartender and she gave out a bunch of plastic straws in her history.
She went to she got a $35,000 ticket to a gala. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Met Gala.
Yeah.
Oh, is that a felony?
And ethics.
Okay, wait, hold on. How
we
about
can figure out how to make it a felony?
Yes.
We can do that.
If the Democrats can,
because she did it to cover up another crime.
Yeah.
Which was
doesn't matter.
Smoking marijuana or something. I don't know. I don't know if she actually smoked.
Doesn't matter. We don't even have to.
Doesn't
matter.
I think that's what it is.
Oh, that's right. We'll just tell the jury to decide if she thinks that she did anything else wrong.
That's right. It doesn't matter.
No, to be fair though, because we are reasonable people. Maybe the AOC one could be like her being fined by a judge on the back.
Not as dramatic.
A fine for her ethics violation.
Why should we be interested? Basically everyone in Congress is a crook. We know that. But there's
but just double-sided coins where it's the back of their head behind bars and the front of their head behind bars. All of them.
The FBI.
Nancy Pelosi in jail coin. On the back, it's looking at a prison cell through the window.
I like
On
the
front,
idea.
It's looking through the bars.
I like the idea that if you lose, when you go to be elected, if you lose the election, you go to jail for the entire time that you would have been in
office.
In office, whatever it is. Congress or Senate, whatever.
Putin likes that comment.
I don't know that it would actually work, though, because the problem is with these incumbents is they never get voted out anyway. So nobody would challenge them. So it's got to be actually that you go to jail if you win. We send you. Congress is an island, isolated from everybody. You'll wear a gray jumpsuit, and you will be there for the rest of your life. You are there for you get 2 terms, 8 years, and afterwards you can't leave, and you cut off all communications other than you can read you can read the internet, but you can't post anything.
I want somebody to make the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Bar Factory golden ticket thing, and then we all get a trip to the White House if we get the golden ticket. Like, if we're just selling things based on politics, there's more things that are fun for me than double-sided coins.
That sounds like something Trump might actually do, though.
Look, Trump campaign, if you roll that out there, let me know. I should get a golden ticket.
He has chocolate.
Look, we're halfway there.
Trump has gold bar chocolates. You can buy and it's got it says Trump on it. It's like
Instead of gold tickets, it should be orange tickets, though.
But there are places in D.C. where you can buy all kinds of novelties with political stuff on this. But this is a new cultural moment for sure.
Which president's going to prison?
The fact that the option is if you lose, you go to prison. That's something that we have. That's something that historically we've taken pride in the fact that we didn't do that, right? Like it was banana republics that did that. It wasn't, we did. Americans didn't do that.
A country with pride.
Exactly. We used to have, these norms, et cetera. All these things that people articulate.
Eugene V. Debs was the one exception,
and he still managed to campaign, right?
I can't believe when they announced Trump was guilty. My heart sinks a little bit. I'm like, what is happening to this country? This is freaky stuff. Less than 5 days later, we're like, hey, look, they're making coins if presidents go to prison. Yeah.
Look, nothing beats the mugshot merch drop that the Trump campaign pulled off. The fact that they were immediately and here are T-shirts and mugs.
But that goes to our original point, which is that this is not, the Democrats are thinking that we're going to smear him. He's smear-proof, both because he's Donald Trump. I mean, I don't know what he did with Stormy Daniels, but I don't know anyone like Stormy Daniels. There's no one like that in my life. And nor is there anyone like Michael Cohen in my life.
Well,
but also, I'm sorry, Tim, but just they've also, again, they've made the standards by which smears become irrelevant.
But it doesn't matter if they're smearing him because they've lied about so much we know they lied about. So now they could, there could be a video comes out of Donald Trump kicking a golden doodle, and we're going to be like, it's deep fake. I just don't believe these people anymore. They've manipulated video. The Shinzo Abe koi fish video edited so that you didn't realize Shinzo Abe fed the fish first, and then Trump followed suit. They tried to make Trump look crazy. They lied about it. They all knew they lied about it. Now they could come out and be like, no, this time we mean it. And I'll be like, dude, the boy who cried wolf, not interested.
It must be weird for the Biden campaign where the polls are showing that independents would rather pick this convicted felon they created over their actual incumbent. Like it's rough out there. This was the thing that was meant to seem like an insult to the Trump campaign. This was meant to, potentially turn voters the other way.
So what the cognitive dissonance says to you in that moment is this is a temporary effect. When people have time to think about this between now and November, they're going to realize, I can't vote for a convicted felon. And then, look, that kind of cope takes place on both sides. And that's how people lie to themselves because they're drinking that Kool-Aid.
What do you think will happen with Trump? Do you think he'll get sentenced to house arrest, or what's the next step in this saga?
I know. I'm so bad at guessing because just like Tim was saying, I keep thinking there's got to be some limit. And there's clearly no limit.
No.
They really, really, really want that picture of him in an orange jumpsuit. They really want that. But there's a lot of feedback from non-conservative, the criminal defense bar, which has been worthless, starting with the whole Michael Cohen, everything. The people, supposedly the civil rights guys. Then you have a guy like Scott Greenfield, who's conventional middle-of-the-road liberal, a very hard-ass criminal defense lawyer, beginning to speak out and talk about there's just really something wrong here. And is it really true that there's absolutely no limit? You're asking me, what do I think is going to happen? Even if they give him 2 weeks, that will get the job done. That will get the job done.
One day. They want the picture of him in that jumpsuit. Mm-hmm. Let's jump to this next story. Donald Trump has formally launched his TikTok, and in a day, he's got 4.5 million followers, and he announced it with this video at UFC.
The president is is now on TikTok. It's my honor.
Of course, he's got Kid Rock playing.
So you notice? Did you guys watch UFC? Watch the fight?
I
What was it,
just
2
saw the
days ago?
clips.
It was absolutely fantastic. Some really great fighting. Strickland won, of course, because he's the best. And something great happened. Kevin Holland and Strickland, when they won their fights, jumped out of the ring and ran up to shake the hand of Donald Trump. The whole crowd is cheering for Trump. They're cheering. They're chanting, "We want Trump," and I think they were chanting FJB. The media is losing it. Look at this one. New York Post says, Aaron Rodgers, Sean Strickland have different reactions to Trump's UFC appearance. An absolute lie. A lie. They take this tweet from Ron Filipkowski. He says, Aaron Rodgers remains in his seat and ignores convicted felon Trump as he walks by tonight at UFC fight. Total lie. Aaron Rodgers posted a photo of himself shaking Trump's hand and called it priceless. The media is furious that Donald Trump in Jersey, he did this in New York too, can walk into UFC. These are normies. These are dudes who are just betting on sports, watching a sporting event. Joe Rogan's there. Trump walks up, shakes Rogan's hand. Rogan's smiling. All these big athletes they love Donald Trump. They cannot allow a narrative to exist where Trump is cool and cool guys like him. This is the problem they have. The reason why they need to claim that Aaron Rodgers snubbed him is because they need to be able to go to the people who aren't paying attention and say, major athletes don't like Trump. Nobody likes Trump. We're on the right side of history. Support Biden. The reality is you want to be one of the best. You want to be the best fighter. You want to be the best football, best baseball, best musician. You want to be the best podcaster. They're all cheering for Donald Trump. I mean, think about it. You got Strickland wins his fight. Holland wins his fight. They both jump over to shake his hand. Joe Rogan, the greatest podcaster, there shaking his hand.
But look at also in that short video at his aplomb. Look at his spirit. I mean, guys, someone wants to search Ron Coleman's Twitter history. It has not been all rah-rah. There's some really good 2016 stuff in there, okay? This man is so... The people who despise him cannot conceive of that kind of personality, of that kind of self-assuredness and embracing life. Think of, in contradistinction of that lowlife, what's his name? The one who was filmed after Hillary lost, sitting and it looked like he was going to kill himself.
Ben Rhodes.
Ben Rhodes, who I tweeted last week. I posted on X that he was one of the few people who really manages to get under my skin.
He's pretty terrible.
He's just constant to be such a pathological liar. But how a man like that is broken, and how a man like this, no matter what else you think of him, and most of what you think of him that's negative is not relevant to his qualifications for president. And one of my things that my wife is always saying is, what you hear, the women, I don't like him. I don't like, as if they are considering him for a mate.
Or like a dinner guest.
Or a son-in-law. Anyway.
There's a funny viral post where apparently, I can't remember where this post was. Someone said they were at a party and then all the guys started chanting Trump and singing the national anthem, and all the women just started looking at each other like, what do we do?
Oh, that's another thing that Jane always tells me. Women look at each other. Not all women. Not a Brimolo.
I don't want to be lumped into this.
But women are more likely to look around and see what they're supposed to do.
Right.
Yeah, well, women look for social cohesion, right? Yeah. So there's a level of if they are surrounded by other conservative women, they behave differently than when you put them in, in all women's college that's governed completely by left-leaning progressive academics. What stood out to me about the UFC fight, and I don't know if we have a clip of it, but when Trump walked out with Dana White, he's going through the crowd, and it reminds me of when fighters walk out and they're playing music, and it was like he was having his own walk out to the fight. The symbolic nature, the picture here could not have been any more powerful coming off the conviction, because it really gave this energy of we're just going to go into the match and fight now.
And now contrast this with his opponent. And it's an interesting call, because you say, well, maybe since there is no one with a personality like that, that we could match up against him, we'll go with the non-personality. We'll go with the, the golem. We'll go with the, with this person who is being hung up on strings, and reassure people that the system is running things. It's all on auto. It's all on automatic.
I'm surprised that doesn't frighten more people.
Well, I mean, you look at some of the things that people write about how it's like they actually seem to believe that he's a real person.
Donald Trump or Joe Biden?
Joe Biden.
Oh, Donald Trump's a real person. Seen it with my own eyes. Joe Biden's a real person, but not upstairs, right? I mean, we know that nobody's home.
No,
Was it true in an Shabbat of pressure or Batacaf care when you realized it?
Say that again?
Was it true in an Shabbat of pressure or Batacaf care when you realized it? I personally, I like Next Now Rescent, and now I'm a big fan of Pac Adelac. I don't know what Biden is trying to say, but I respect that he's trying to say
That's
it.
a joke. Okay, yes. Oh, please. No, but I knew it. Please, we knew it. We knew it during the campaign. I mean, he was shuffling around. But I mean, yeah, please.
I think Biden is almost surreal to the American people, in part because he has been a politician for so long that when he goes to like visit Scranton, where he grew up or whatever, he's actually
Where he did
probably
not grow
spent
up.
right, but he's probably spent more time there on campaign trips than he ever has in an actual human capacity. Whereas Donald Trump, especially, the time that he spent in New York, he actually was a big part of New York's development, and he did have a relationship with, especially the construction industry and in buildings, and he seems more real almost because he just hasn't had this insulated bubble that Biden has. And I think this is one of the interesting things coming up against, we had this historic conviction of a president in New York, and now we're going to go to the federal trial of Hunter Biden. The first time, as far as I know, the child of a president has been brought up on charges like this. And it's such a contrast because he seems like just of a different world than the Trump family, even though theoretically they're all people who have, been in the White House and move in elite circles. They just don't read the same way to the American people.
We're all real excited about 2024, but I'm really curious about 2028.
That's an incredible statement of optimism on your part.
It doesn't mean it's optimistic.
No,
we can say
think there's going to be.
Yes. There's the famous quote. I know not which voting machines will be used in November of 2024, but in 2028 we'll be voting with sticks and stones.
Okay, so as long as we are clear on that,
that'll be it. How many rocks?
Which warlord will be?
We'll be buying things with bottle caps. The U.S. dollar will be worthless.
I'll start saving up now.
That's right.
Good to know.
Good to know
Every
how to
time
get here.
You open a soda, you add one more cap to your collection to buy things with. Yeah.
That's why they're always pushing things into cans.
I'm fairly optimistic. I am. When you watch the UFC stuff and you see everyone screaming and cheering for Trump, their narrative doesn't work. Trump's donations show the polls can be whatever they want. Polls are trash, okay? We pull up the polls, and I'll mention, who knows? Because they're going to be like, we polled 1,000 people and found that 70% are voting for Biden. It's like, also 70% of them were Democrats, and that's why we got the results. You know what you can't screw around with? Donations. Did someone give money? Did they give money? Yes.
All the money in the world couldn't get a single judge to actually look at the evidence of voter fraud.
Right, but what I'm saying is, to determine the popularity of Donald Trump, you can argue polls all day long. The pollsters choose how they handle their polls. And so we get biases in one way, margins of error. But with record-setting donations, it's actually quite simple. A record number of people are giving Trump money. That is indicative of his popularity. So they can say whatever they want. And that's why, a lot of people don't believe the polls when they say Trump's unfavorable. Right now, I think 538's aggregate unfavorability is like his favorability is like 30-something%. I'm like, I don't believe it. The guy walks in the UFC and the whole crowd screams and cheers, and he's in Jersey.
He's in Jersey.
Where was he? In Newark, I think it was. Where was it?
I'll double check.
I think it was Newark. They're all cheering for him.
Now, those people don't live in Newark, I can tell you with confidence.
But these are people who live
Prudential Center.
But they're within a drive. They're within an hour's drive.
Staten Island, maybe.
Staten Island. No matter right, choose your white enclave of choice. There are plenty of them in northern New Jersey and parts of New York. But you're 100% right. The only question is, has the system by which we choose our leaders has it become so utterly corrupt that popularity and actual votes cast? Look, if it were up to the Democrats, they would pass laws in every state guaranteeing mail-in ballots and
Guaranteeing?
requiring mail-in ballots. In other words, nothing but mail-in voting anytime you want. I mean, the point is, the idea is to funnel things through the precincts that have the power to affect entire states. Having said that, as I often remind people, if it were that easy, they wouldn't be going through all this trouble. They're going through a hell of a lot of, if it were just a matter of cheating, they wouldn't be going through all this trouble. Because after all, they are burning it down for them. It's fire, right?
Yep.
They're burning it down for themselves and their progeny.
Well, let's jump to this next story. We'll shift away from Trump. We have this big news from ABC. Judge rejects call to immediately shut down Alex Jones's InfoWars and bankruptcy dispute. You may have seen over the weekend Alex Jones giving a heartfelt plea saying the feds were trying to come in, shut down InfoWars, seize his assets, liquidate everything, and it would be no more. Well, ABC News reports after a weekend in which conspiracy theorist Alex Jones, they got to add that, warned that his media company faced an imminent shutdown by the federal government because of his bankruptcy cases. A judge on Monday allowed Jones to keep operating for the next 2 weeks while it is decided whether his assets should be liquidated. Both Jones and his company, Free Speech Systems, filed for bankruptcy reorganization after he lost two lawsuits and was ordered to pay $1.5 billion to relatives of victims of the Sandy Hook shooting. They sued Jones, we know. The families have opposed Jones's reorganization plans. On Sunday, they filed an emergency motion to convert Free Speech Systems' bankruptcy reorganization into a liquidation, saying Jones has not made progress in showing how he will pay the lawsuit judgments. U.S. Bankruptcy Judge Christopher Lopez in Houston said Monday that he will address the motion on June 14th. Jones went on his web show over the weekend with an emergency broadcast. Now, here's what I will say. It makes no sense if you want someone to pay you to shut down their multi-million-dollar business.
But it makes perfect sense if the entire purpose of your lawsuit
Was to destroy Alex Jones.
was to destroy him and silence his voice. This lawsuit is one of the great travesties of non-criminal law in my entire life.
Ron, do you think that this kind of set the stage for what they did with Trump?
No, I think this is on a separate track. I agree with you that if they could have cooked up something like this, they would have. But this is.
But this is what they did to Trump in the civil fraud case with his properties.
Yeah, but not in the sense of shutting down his voice. I mean, they want Alex Jones. I mean,
You can't silence Alex Jones.
he is a force of nature.
Right.
There's no question about that.
If they took everything from him, he'd go buy an iPhone, put it on a tripod in a parking lot, and his show is back on the air.
But to be fair, if I would have told you a year ago that Tucker Carlson would be as little of an impact in the conversation as he is now, would you have been surprised to hear me say that? I think everyone thought he would roll out his own thing without Fox, and it would be like Timcast Plus, Timcast with a bow tie.
I'd say 50-50. The issue being that we've long tracked the ratings for like Tucker and for other cable networks and ragged on CNN. And we've pointed out Tucker's key demo viewership was 400,000 on average. They would say he gets 3 million per night, but those were 65 plus. When he moves off of out of Fox and into social media, his ratings should follow with where those demographics are. So you will capture some of the older crowd, but mostly it's going to be millennials. His viewership should remain steady at about 400K per night.
But also, where's the content? Where's the it's sporadic. Nobody knows. Like he's just not part of the conversation.
He is influential. I mean, I think about like the Vladimir Putin interview. He really does set the tone for a lot of things. It doesn't. I get what you're saying. Like he moved off of this platform where people were expecting him to be, and it's maybe not exactly the same force, but people still look to Tucker for his opinion. I think he also shifted people. He was able to convert to a paywall system because people wanted his content.
Yeah, he's probably making more.
Well, he's making what he was making before. Fox continues to pay him.
Wait, Fox is still paying Tucker?
Yes, the reason he's not on the air is because under his contract, they have to pay him. They don't have to air him.
Right. But I thought he was in dispute because he also wasn't allowed to produce content outside of the Fox network as well.
Right.
So they're still paying his salary, plus he's got TCN?
My understanding is that they are still paying him.
Wow.
Because if they stop paying him, then he can say, you've breached the contract. Oh, you think I breached it first? Fine, let's fight that out. But now I've got a free hand.
You know, Alex Jones's influence before they mass banned him was tremendous. I was in Sweden in 2017 when I was covering the migrant thing, and I went to a Thai food restaurant, and this was I think it was in Södertälje, and there were 3 young Swedish men sitting behind us, and then I hear them laughing, and it's Alex Jones. And then I look over, and it's a video of Alex Jones ranting, and he rips his shirt off, and they were all laughing, and I'm like, Alex Jones is like, they love him. It's like WWE. It's these kids were watching him. They got rid of him from everything. He still has massive viewership, but holy crap, what was he? He was getting hundreds of millions of hits per month. The amount of money he was making was absolutely insane. I wonder what he did with it. I don't know. But I'll tell you this. If they seize everything from him, InfoWars as we know it will not exist.
Of course.
Alex Jones will still be able to have some kind of show. He will still be rich, and he'll be rich for the rest of his life. But they are trying to destroy what is left of his infrastructure. If they were to seize everything from him, and then he literally just bought, because he easily would be able to. Let's say they took every penny and all of his clothing, and they made him wear a potato sack. It would take him 2 seconds. Somebody he knows would instantly be like, Alex Jones, I'm going to film a video for you real quick and post it on X. And it would say, hey, everybody, pitch in to buy Alex Jones a new suit, get him a computer. He'd have $200,000 in 10 minutes. He'd then set up a computer, set up his show. His viewers would, and I'd be willing to bet his viewership would actually spike massively in the short term because everyone's wanting to see what happened. He would immediately sign up a whole bunch of new members to his new company, and you can't shut down a person like Alex Jones because people want to watch him.
And I think InfoWars has done well in developing other people. Like Alex Jones is at the head, but I think of Owen Schroyer. Like when he had to go to jail because of his involvement in January 6th, it was a big deal. I think it was something that people were saying, well, where do I find this guy? Oh, he's on InfoWars. Oh, well, I thought InfoWars was just Alex Jones, and it's not. I mean, and the latest update with that was that the Supreme Court just rejected his First Amendment petition. He was saying you need to overturn my case. And I think it's interesting that there is sort of, this thing that Alex Jones has built has become this really representation of controversial free speech opinions, coupled with people who are really tenacious and trying to push forward. Like, you don't have to agree with everything that's there. At the same time, why are they being scrutinized a way that other media companies are not?
Alex gave him a weapon. It was one that should not have been allowed to be turned on him in this manner because it's irresponsible and hurtful and stupid and nutty as it was. It's not defamation.
But
defamation.
Right. Well, you say he gave him a weapon, but my understanding is that I could be wrong because I don't know. In Texas, what Alex was saying is you have to specifically name the individuals to have defamed them. And by making broad generalizations about a group, it's not defamation.
No, that's true. I'm saying he gave him a weapon by saying these crazy things.
Yeah.
Legally speaking, this is not defamation. There simply is no defamation. This is, you might have some kind of tort.
But right.
But it isn't a defamation.
What I mean is to say then that that's giving a weapon. It's to say
a weapon, not a legal weapon.
I know what you're saying.
They turned it into
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
The point being then, if you're calling it Alex giving them a weapon, then the only thing Alex can do is not speak about certain topics, because even though he did nothing wrong, they will turn it against him.
Yeah.
But that's not a path forward anyone could take.
Right. That's right. Listen. The story. His story has not yet been written. There's more to come, I'm sure of it.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see in 2 weeks what his plan is going to be.
What do you think this type of lawsuit says to the American people? Because it has been going on for a long time. The Sandy Hook shooting was in 2012.
Yep.
It's been sort of a slow roll, but also really seems
social order's gone.
aware.
They haven't had the power.
Social order has broken down a long time ago. What does this say? The first thing we saw was the coordination between all of the major tech companies to silence not just Alex Jones, but several others, including Milo Yiannopoulos, Paul Joseph Watson, others. Then you get this lawsuit. Now we're at the stage where they're literally going to put Trump in jail. They've convicted him on this ridiculous fake case that even CNN said was fake. I will stress this. I will every single time. Fareed Zakaria said that they would have never brought this case against someone whose name was not Donald Trump. When Fareed Zakaria is on CNN primetime, I think it was primetime, saying this is not legitimate, I think it's clear to the average person watching what's going on, the system is gone. I guess the issue is you get to a point where when the majority of people in a country don't want to be involved, this is where you end up. All that is required for evil to triumph is that good men do nothing. And it's not about today. It's not a question of today, because today we're seeing a lot of good men start to stand up and get involved, especially people who are younger, who are now aging into a corrupt system, wanting to be involved. What I'm saying is that probably 2 generations ago, you had adults who said, don't talk about politics at the dinner table. And that was the beginning. Don't talk about politics at the dinner table. Well, the communists didn't think so. The communists said, while they're not talking, get to their kids, infiltrate their schools. And now we're at a point where what was once a dominant Christian nation has allowed abject corruption and degeneracy to run wild. And it is because, in my opinion, over the past several generations, too many men said, do not talk politics, do not talk religion, do not talk money. Those are the rules.
But also too many Christians said, do not judge.
But the reality of that is it's a derivative of just, I don't want to be involved.
Yeah.
Just let them do their thing. I don't want to be involved. Judge not lest ye be judged. And then you ended up with people saying, look, it's just about, when I was a kid, we have this story. Well, actually, let's jump to the story from TMZ. Philadelphia Pride Parade, pro-Palestine protesters block the route, call out pride in genocide. They're clashing with each other now, the far left, because there's no cohesive point here. But there's a video going viral of a bunch of men in super tight Speedo, underwear type. And everyone's like, how come they're always naked at these events? This is what happens to this country and to the West in general. First, it's, we just want to be left alone, please. Just leave us alone. And everyone says, okay, fine, just leave me alone. Then they say, well, if I'm walking with my significant other and you're yelling at me, you're not leaving me alone. So let me be out in public and we're like, okay, that's fine. You can be out in public. Then they said, yes, but we won't do anything unless we're in the privacy of our own home. So now we all agree. Now we're at the point where it is continually escalated every step of the way. And it is not so much...
Not just tolerate me, celebrate me.
Oh, yeah, every company's doing it. We're at the point now where viral videos of grown men with distended guts shaking their whitey-tighties in front of children and thrusting their junk in front of kids.
With whose parents are right there with them.
The parents are there. There's another video of a man wearing a Bugs Bunny mask, but everything else buck naked, shaking his genitals in front of children. These are all abject crimes. It is illegal everywhere it's taking place. But good men did nothing. The answer now is it's difficult. We have to reform. We have to win a culture war. We have to restructure. It's generational.
Tim, this is not the same guy whose show I was on 2 years ago.
Really?
Oh, you were something of a libertarian. No matter what you say now, you are.
But what's not libertarian about what I'm saying?
You're acknowledging the existence of public morality that needs to be not by coercion,
By culture.
but that needs that the culture needs to grab onto if we're going to survive as a society.
But my point is no different. It's not an issue of government or law. It's an issue of what do you as a society shun, ostracize, accept, or otherwise. And it's not an issue of whether two people want to live their lives and be in the privacy of their own homes. The issue is they're outright spitting in your face and telling you that they will wrong you and they will attack you.
So the drawing of the line, the not doing nothing. Let's see if you're a libertarian, or even if you're just a person with any functioning neurons, you should have given up on public schools a long time ago. If you're a libertarian, you'd be against them in the first place. Public schools are the interface, and you alluded to this a second ago. That's where the communists are subverting your children's morals.
100%.
But how can we, as value-neutral people, without religion,
we're not value neutral. We're not value neutral. We're not value neutral.
And so my point was, today, there is no easy answer. Literally not a single one exists. Some people will say, elect this politician. Other people say they want to engage in acts of violence. None of those things work. Politicians a good start, but culture is what matters. I will tell you this too. When you look at the polling from Black Lives Matter, violence destroyed their movement. They were enjoying 55% favorability, Black Lives Matter, and then they rioted and it dropped down to like 26 overnight. So anybody who's going online and they're being like, the Tree of Liberty, the Founding Fathers, I'm like, that's a fed. Because that is not a strategy that actually changes the problem of cultural discohesion. The problem is that 2 generations ago, you had people saying, let this stuff happen. Now we are facing the ramifications of what let this stuff happen means.
You're talking about gay pride parades. I'll never forget when I first got married and I was living in New York and Rudy Giuliani had been elected to his first term. Maybe this was during his second term. And he's a Republican. He was a liberal Republican, but a Republican all the same. Marching in the gay pride parade, but not just marching in it. He was in some kind of fruity costume, okay? And I'm thinking to myself, this is the guy who really has brought New York back from the brink with his law and order approaches. Okay, he is not, I don't know what he's doing today or tonight, but we learned about regarding his personal life that he wasn't necessarily a moral, beacon, but this go along and get along attitude that it's all in good fun. The public sector, the leadership, the signals, not only in schools, but among politicians, that's a very big part of the problem.
So I am not talking about pride parades.
You started out talking about pride parades.
No, you didn't let me finish. You interrupted me before I made my point.
I'm the guest.
My point was, it starts with, we have no problem that you exist and you love each other and you're walking down the street. The problem is, what they were really doing was not pride parades and is still not pride parades. What was asked of the public was, allow us to wave our flags and march down the street. We're here. Get used to it. And the public said, I don't know anything about that. I don't go to those events. Do your thing. What was actually going on? They were having overt sexual activities in public. And because regular people weren't there, the lies are the only thing they heard. So when I was a kid, North Halstead, my family had a coffee shop, Halstead and Waveland, and I wasn't allowed to go outside during Pride because my parents understood what was going on. They were having sex in the street. I'm not exaggerating. They were walking around doing sexual things explicitly and overtly. I remember being told when I was a kid, this is the 1997, 98, 99. It's about love. It's about people who love each other. And then I said, how come the clothing store, I'm like 12, the clothing store next door, like one block over, the mannequins have genitals and they're engaging in adult acts on each other in view of the public. How come there's a bathhouse across the street where it's literally just where a bunch of men do drugs and have sex and it's all illegal and everyone knows it's happening?
All right, but those kinds of, when you say it's illegal, including the public sex, a libertarian should not have any problem with those things being legal.
Yeah, they should.
Why?
So I suppose the question you're asking is, or the point you're bringing up is the idea of the low libertarian, generic, nonsensical psychopath who thinks people can do whatever they want versus
Libertinism versus libertarianism.
yeah. So like the Mises Caucus won in 2022 for a reason. They took over the Libertarian Party because people generally are like, we are overregulated, we are overtaxed, we are overburdened. Our government is waging unjust wars. It's selling out our workers and our jobs. We don't tolerate this. We want to reduce the size of government and focus more on a government that favors liberty more than authority. Libertarian, in the basic sense of the political compass, would just be more liberty than authority. Authoritarian would be more authority than liberty. The Mises Caucus believes they're pro-life. They believe in borders. They believe in laws. They're heavily critical of public funding of these things, but they think there should be police. They think it should be optional. The idea that there should be no police. So libertarians aren't going around saying everyone can just commit crimes.
They're not anarchists.
Right.
Some of them.
So I don't think libertarians are anarchists or anarchists are libertarians. I mean, you can argue that anarchism is on the libertarian spectrum at the very bottom. But if you go to the average libertarian, they're going to argue, yeah, we're all having a meeting right now to discuss policy because we don't think there should be nothing. There should be at least something, and to varying degrees. But libertarians absolutely would have a problem with people breaking the law in public because libertarians still believe there should be private police forces to stop crime.
But these are laws without victims.
There are victims.
What are the victims?
The children.
The children. Very judgmental. I'm a reactionary. I've got no problem with any of this stuff. I'm pro monarchy at this point.
When they allow when they allow you look at Instagram, and the big news now is that X is allowing explicit adult content. They've formalized this. Yet children are victimized. And I can give you the actual hard breakdown. It's not some moral, won't someone think of the children. It is behavioral sink injected into the mind of a child that results in higher rates of depression and self-harm. Confusing. When kids watch things that are challenging for adults to see, snuff films appearing on social media, it damages them mentally, and it can cause. Let's just put it simply. We have seen more than enough videos. There's a video going viral right now, and I don't want to single anybody out, of a woman who's on hormones, just screaming into her camera about, and she had gone viral before, about how her life is destroyed, her life is ruined, she has no friends, she can't think, she can't feel anymore, something's wrong with her. And I'm like, when you take these videos, Instagram has bondage, full hardcore bondage videos on Instagram. I can't believe it. Tried recommending this stuff to me, and I'm like, not interested. Do not show me this stuff. Naked women, only covered by the ropes that are squeezing their bodies constricted as they hang from ceilings on Instagram, children are looking at. When kids see that, it wires their brain in a certain way. And when they get older, they suffer from mental health issues, depressive issues, self-harm. That is a crime against children.
Of course it is. And yet we're living in a world in which guidance counselors and school librarians and teachers are sidling up to children and asking them whether they really want to be little boys instead of being little girls.
The idea of sex education in schools, like, there is no reason for it. I don't care. I know that this sounds super old-fashioned and stuff. There was an argument about it when I was a kid in school and stuff. The argument was, well, they're not getting this.
They're going to learn it in the street.
They're going to learn it, and they did blah, 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 et cetera.
The only way to stop teen pregnancy.
Well, I tell you what, now you're chopping boobs off, and it's got to stop. You're chopping off healthy men's penises. It's got to stop. So if that means we have to end schools, if we have to end sex education in school, end it.
The issue is that it's not sex education. I had this debate with this lefty friend of mine, and he said, why do you have a problem with sex ed in school? I have no problem with it. You want to get a permission slip? You say, hey, you're in 5th grade. We're going to start doing basic reproductive education. The girls have the girl class, the boys have the boy class. That's not what they're doing.
No.
They're bringing in books about kink and damaging. Look, I don't want to get too much into it on a show that we try to say these things because people have their kids listening. But let me just say that in one of the books that we've routinely talked about, it explains to children the process of consuming bodily waste, which will kill you. That is not functioning reproduction or sex ed. That is DSM-5 pica telling people that they're going to be titillated from eating diseased waste from their own bodies. And you had that video of the guy in Spain. Everyone saw that. These things cause people to engage in self-harm, and that is a crime. So going back to the main point, when I'm a little kid and I'm walking down the street in North Halstead, they call it Boys Town, where my family had a cafe, and they have a store where the mannequins are engaging in overt sex acts on each other in the window. They are causing harm to people. And fortunately, I have good enough parents who help me explain these things to me. And I ask them, if it's about love, then how come all of it is sex? All of it, 100%.
Because,
all of it.
Because all of it is intended to basically make kids unsure of themselves in a time when they're learning about the whole world, like learning about their bodies changing and stuff. And then there is essentially authority figures injecting themselves into their lives, telling them things that they wouldn't think of on their own. They wouldn't, they probably wouldn't come across this stuff on their own. There might be some kids that would end up gay or lesbian that wouldn't have someone to explain it to them, explain what they're feeling. But I'm willing to bet the number of gay and lesbian kids that would end up having a problem figuring out that they're gay or lesbian is fewer than the number of penises and breasts that you cut off.
Yeah,
of children that are going through puberty, that are learning about their bodies. When young girls when the number of bulimia and anorexia cases have dropped through the floor and the number of young women that are trans has gone through the roof, there is probably something else going on.
Social media.
Fair enough. But the idea is that there are people that are ideologically possessed with the LGBT ideology, and they are trying to get to children to make those children into LGBT allies.
Back to the first point, which is, at a certain point, the previous generation said, we don't care, we're not involved. And I think the root of that is when they would say to you, don't talk politics, religion, or money at the dinner table. That was always the most insane thing to me. Because I'm a teenager. My family's had the internet ever since I can remember. We had CompuServe on DOS, for those who know what DOS is. We got DOS shell, talk about an upgrade. Windows 3.1, we had Windows before that, was a bunch of gray boxes. And then we got Windows 95. When that came out, wow, amazing. AOL, we had CompuServe for a while. We even had Web TV. And I'm reading the front page of AOL. I'm reading news when I was 12 or 13. I'm working at my family's coffee shop. There were adults talking politics. And so I'm learning all these things. And then when I would try and talk about the things, I'm 16 and I'm reading the news about war and things like this, Afghanistan. And everyone, all of my friends' family, no, we don't talk politics. No, it's not allowed. That's how they did it.
That's a very interesting hypothesis.
I think I don't think it's the only factor, but it's a strong root where you need to be involved and understand what's going on in your community.
The assumption was that everybody's a liberal.
Well, that's not even the issue. The issue is if a guy gets drunk and crashes the car, if a politician got drunk and crashed his car into a building, and you were like, "Did you hear about that alderman?" No, we don't talk politics. Don't do it. Okay, well,
that's a different thing then.
Right, but the point was, it was always considered rude, and you're not allowed to do it.
Jewish people, we talked about politics at every meeting.
That's right. Sure. So you go to school, and what's happening? Everything's political. The teachers are indoctrinating your kids. When you go home, the parents are saying, we don't talk politics at the dinner table. Good. Then the only thing the kids are learning is from the crackpots in your school.
You're not instilling your values into your children.
I don't even think it's that parents say we don't talk politics at the dinner table. I think it's that families don't eat dinner together. I think that we are a broken culture that doesn't have anybody who has a connection. And when you talk about these kids, like Phil's talking about kids who are in school counseled, like, oh, well, maybe you could have gender dysphoria by their guidance counselors, right? I was just listening to an interview with someone who was like, talking about being queer and then going to medical school and saying,
there was a time where parents would pull kids out of school if someone said that to them.
And I know parents who have done that. I mean, the thing is, like, this person who went on medical school was saying, like, oh yeah, well, when I talk to teens, they're saying, like, well, maybe your parents don't understand and maybe we need to make a plan and whatever.
They tell them to hide stuff.
Right, it's to divide children from their families, but families aren't doing enough legwork to say, this is where I check in with you every day. I mean, I remember talking about this, the Sandusky case in Ohio, when that coach got caught, abusing children. One of the things that always gets me, and maybe I get this wrong, it's been a long time since I talked about the story, but one of the first reports I heard was one of the first young victims to came forward because his mom realized that he had taken a shower after practice. And she said, "Why is your hair wet?" And he was like, "Oh, well, the coach said I had to take a shower." And she said, "There's no reason that you need to take a shower at school." Partially because she was home to see him after school, right? She knew his routine. She knew his habits. They had a relationship where she could say something is off, something's not right. I think that's so fascinating. Like, yeah, maybe your parents don't want to talk about certain things at the dinner table, but there has to be a dinner table for them to discuss anything there. They have to spend time with their children. They can't just park them in after-school programs or in front of the TV and say, well, they'll turn out to have my values. If you're not actively engaging with your children, of course they're being warped by the system that they're in.
And especially if you're giving them an iPhone when they're 12.
Right.
Oh, I think you are rolling the dice on a death sentence, giving your kid access to today's internet.
My kids, I mean, you know, we're ultra Orthodox. We're strictly observant. They had no phones, and then they were allowed to get flip phones with just no texting even. Under the rules of the schools that they went to, they were not. You would be instantly. It was not part of their lives, and they're. Not only are they normal, they're married and happy, and they've given me grandchildren.
Well,
when I was a
kids
kid,
at their school had the same rules, I assume.
When I was a kid, our school had parental locks on all the computers. So first, when I'm like 10, we had Apple, and everyone would rush to get the B floppy disk and try to get Oregon Trail. That was all you could do. You could play Oregon Trail or I don't know, number munch or something. We didn't have Civilization.
No, I have too much.
I had Civilization at home on Windows.
Oh, okay.
And then around 8th grade. When I was 6th, 7th grade, they upgraded all the Apple to PC, and all of a sudden you had internet, you had way more games, and me and my friends who knew how to use computers knew how to easily bypass the parental restrictions and get whatever we wanted. But my point is, the school said you can't go to these websites; they are not allowed. Today, parents give their kids phones and say the whole world. Unrestricted, no rules, do whatever you want. I got to be honest, like my Instagram in the search function, it's all algorithmic. It is a combination of snowboarding videos. It's mostly skateboarding because that's what I watch and that's who I follow. There's a lot of poker videos, and then it tries to give you things that are. It'll suggest things that are similar, hoping you'll click on them.
Because it wants to broaden your interest and your commitment.
It wants to keep you locked in.
Right.
And if you're not clicking as much, it'll send you something different. So skateboarding turns into scootering, rollerblading. But I enjoy all that Nitro Circus stuff. So I'll watch all of that. And then I see a video of a woman tied up completely, naked, but being covered only by the ropes that have squeezed her body purple. And I said, what? And I was like, why is this? I hit it and put not interested. Don't send me this. And then and it turns out it's actually particularly prominent on Instagram that they have overt, hardcore fetish content to an extreme degree. So the way people post porn on Instagram is when you know the thing they do on Instagram where they'll post 9 photos that are each a piece of a photo, and when you go to the profile, it forms one big photograph on their profile, mosaic. So each photograph is nothing. It'll be a picture of like an eye. And then the next photo is a picture of the other eye. But when you look at their profile as a whole, you'll see 12 squares that form a single picture. And that's how they do it because one photo doesn't break the rules. That photo doesn't break the rules. That one doesn't break the rules. All together in the profile.
It's like a reverse CAPTCHA.
Yeah. And there's screenshots consistently from hardcore videos that appear on Instagram that are shared by tons of high-profile pages with tons of followers. And they just censor out the most extreme part. But what they'll do is they will get the 1 pixel past where the woman is with the man, but you can see the man and the woman and their faces and everything else, and they cut off only that one part. And I'm like, it's obvious this is hardcore pornography on Instagram. They allow it. It's all over the place. And parents are giving this to their kids, and their kids are watching this. It must be wild right now. These poor kids today and in cities, that their brains are going to be completely fried and turned to jelly.
It's not just cities, though. So one of my all-time big Twitter posts, X tweets, is one where where I condemn public schools, and many people would reply to me saying, people with similar worldviews to mine, no, our schools are fine. It's a matter of where you are. It's a matter of our schools. They have no idea what's going on in their schools. And it's not because they're even uninvolved. There are protocols in place to prevent them from knowing.
Absolutely. There are protocols in place, and it is intentional, actively trying to separate children from their parents. This is what cults do. They want to separate the people that they're targeting from their family. They want to make a secret connection, secret relationship that they can hide from their parents. And then they want to have a special relationship. This is all cult behavior. This is, I think it's called DARVO is the name that they use, an acronym. I forget what it is. But the point is, cults find a target.
It means deflect and reverse victim and offender, I think.
Okay, so maybe that's not what it is. Maybe it's a love bomb thing they talk about in cults. I think it was.
Deny, attack, reverse victim.
There you go.
Okay, yeah, that's something different.
Love bomb is when, so a lot of what we're seeing on social media is love bombing. Mm-hmm. So a good example is, I did a funny poll. I put a period because you have to have at least one character, and then I wrote Israel, Palestine. That was the poll.
I saw that.
There's no context. Nothing.
I saw that.
Israel got 80%. Palestine got 20%. I have no idea what that means. In the comments, though, you'd think it was reversed because every comment was from people who hated Israel. A technique used by foreign governments, our military, activist groups, corporations, sock puppetry, and astroturfing is rooted in what's called love bombing. Before the internet, a love bomb was to make friends with a person, invite them to hang out with your friends. Your friends will always compliment what you're doing in some light way, so you feel really good. They'll laugh at your jokes. You'll say, "How do you like my hair?" They'll be like, "Your hair looks really cool. Where'd you get it done?" And then, once you feel really good, if at any point you decide to leave or do something bad, all of a sudden they're saying mean things. And it feels bad. They're being mean to you. You don't like feeling bad. What did I do wrong? These people, they really liked me. Then when you say, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do a bad thing," they say, "You know we love you." And they give you hugs and they high five you. It's like Pavlov's dog. This is what they do on social media. You say something and it's funny because one corporation, one foreign government, and these people fall for it super easily. That's why I made the poll. Because you'll see that there's a lot of extremely vocal anti-Israel people. And you're allowed to be anti-Israel. I don't care about that. But they act like leftists in the activist tactic. An example is one guy will call a business 50 times, each time from a different phone number using a spoofer. So the business thinks 50 people have called us. What's going on? Then they'll go online and see 30 different reviews, all from one guy. And they will believe that hundreds of people are mad at them for doing something wrong. It was one guy the whole time. This is what they're doing right now on social media. You get, we had Helena Kirshner, who was a detransitioner, who explained this. She went on social media website and she was like, I'm not feeling too good. And I don't know exactly how the story goes, but she ends up posting a picture of herself, and they were like, "Hey, maybe you're trans. Have you ever thought that?" And she's like, "No, what's that?" And they're like, "Maybe you're sad because you want to be a boy." And she was like, "I don't know about that."
How old was she when this happened?
I think she was 14?
I think that's what
she said. I don't know anything about what trans is. And they were like, "Well, some people are sad because they're actually transgender and they're supposed to be boys or girls and they don't know it." And these are people commenting. So she says, "I don't know anything about that." And they say, "Well, why don't you, put on a t-shirt and jeans and see if that makes you feel better." So, and then post your picture. Let's see how you look. So she puts on a t-shirt and jeans instead of, like a skirt or something, posts the picture, slammed with love bombs. "You look so cool. Whoa, those jeans are awesome. Wow, you're incredible. How do you feel now?" "Well, I feel good." Right? It's because you were trans. The reality is you feel good because people are telling you you're cool and they're love bombing you.
Right.
Then she goes, "Well, I don't know." And they're like, "Look, if you're still not sure, get a haircut. Get a haircut, see how you feel. Because your hair could always grow back." So she gets her hair cut short. Post a picture, let's see. She posts a picture, slammed with hundreds of comments. "You look so amazing. Wow, you look so cool. How do you feel?" "I feel really good." "Wow, you must be trans. You should go to Planned Parenthood. She walked in the door and she said within a few minutes, they gave her the maximum dose of testosterone. She was getting love bomb attacked on social media. A few minutes. She walked in. I think.
What is the motivation of the people swarming this woman?
Misery loves company.
Destroy the family, destroy America. They're revolutionaries. If you can destroy the family, then you can essentially destroy the country, because the fundamental unit in a country is the family. If you don't have fathers at home and family units, then you have the government stepping in to take the place of the father, and you've got children growing up into alternative lifestyles. You're not.
I think that's ancillary. I think that's one component of it. I think most of what we see is chaos. It's misery loves company. It's
the fire. It's the fire.
Yeah, it's a fire
just
spreads.
Another version of the fire.
So this is a wild story, because apparently there's like a local that I don't want to blow this person up. I'd love to talk to them. It's
you don't mean local here.
A local here. Yeah. In the
ladies and gentlemen,
Western.
Let me make it clear to you: we're in the middle of nowhere.
Ron doesn't believe there are locals anywhere here.
This is the largest city in this for miles away. I am the only Jew who has ever been this far away.
We are 15 minutes away from a metro of 500,000. We are 20 minutes away from a metro of
15 minutes that you may or may not traverse
on a regular highway,
depending on what the guys with the banjos.
There's a local out here who is a woman who one day said, and this is a local, so people might know who this person is, and I mean no disrespect, but I'm going to tell the story as I've heard it. She was like, I think I want to be a guy. And apparently she had kids, and everyone was like, okay. So for a year, she took testosterone. And then after a year and growing facial hair and changing her voice, she became depressed and said, that was a huge mistake. It was wrong. I was lied to. I hate this. Because people go online, and I think what happens is they do this to themselves. They're miserable in it, but they're thinking some people are crabs in a barrel.
And the kids in the schools, and the kids in the schools who are victim. And my wife writes about this a lot. She's a contributor at Legal Insurrection, and she follows these cases. She's a lawyer and writer, and it's inevitably the kids who are, ruined by this in the schools are kids who are unhappy. They're unhappy in the first place, as a significant percentage of kids are in schools, because school's hard. The social aspect of school is hard, and being different, lots of kinds of being different can make you lots of kinds of unhappy. And that is their meat.
Right. It's vulnerability. And anyone who has any sort of, mal wishes for your children, who says, actually, this worked for me, so it must work for everybody, even though they're actually unhappy themselves, they know who they're looking for. And I think that's, again, one of the saddest parts of having a degraded culture. I mean, having a lack of community around people who need help. I think especially young adults, 10 to 14-year-olds, like, they don't feel comfortable in who they are. They're changing. It's fine. It's part of the process. But then having specific, especially adults that have access to them, saying, well, this is really critical. You should start taking hormones now before you go through puberty, is so manipulative.
It's all irreversible.
It's crazy that this is just something that all kinds of people will line up and saying, like, but we have to, otherwise you're a bigot.
We're going to go to Super Chats. So if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with all of your friends. If you do like it, it's the best way to help. And head over to timcast.com, click Join Us, become a member if you'd like to call in to our members-only call-in show and actually join the show and talk to us and our guest. In the meantime, though, we will take your Super Chats. We got Token Black Guy. He says, howdy, people. Tim, I'm so sick of these cowardly Republicans. Do any of them have the balls to just do something, anything? I think the big challenge right now is
not to Fed post.
No, it's not. They're talking about Republicans going after Fauci and things like that. The challenge is that they are overplaying their hand and freaking the American people out. What's up?
Who's they?
Who is
Democrats.
they, though?
I think your antecedent there was the Republicans. So the problem is that the Democrats are overplaying their hand.
Right.
So therefore, the Republicans should not interrupt their
making a mistake by going after Joe Biden and playing the same game and falling into the mud with them. Let them, lie with the dogs, get fleas. The Democrats want to play this dirty game. The challenge is we all want to see accountability, but maybe we wait until January to try and get that accountability because right now Trump is on track to win. We'll see.
And, by the way, what can they really do? They don't control law enforcement at the federal level. They don't control both houses of Congress. They can hold hearings. And then when they hold hearings, people say, all they're doing is holding hearings. Okay. Well, if they send a letter, then people say all they do is send a letter. There's not much else you can do when you only control one house of Congress, and that by 1 or 2 votes.
Tyler McFarland says, I am sure you've heard Eminem's new song by now, pretty culture war relevant. What do you think? Actually, I was meaning to watch it last week and we didn't, so we played it right before the show. And
we all became trans.
It's one of his best songs in a long time. It is a bit derivative of that one of the songs from the 2000s, and it doesn't go hard enough. It's good. I give it a B-. I like it. I'll probably listen to it again. I'll probably watch it again. The beginning is very good and very funny. It's basically a portal opens to 2002 and old Shady comes through and he's like, what the? And so it's pretty funny. But he doesn't really go hard against, he does make fun of trans people in it, which I was surprised he was going to do. But it's not like, he's not rapping saying explicitly like, these things are all really, really bad. He's just kind of pointing them out. So...
And it's also about him to some extent, like the old Shady stuff.
Right.
I'm back. Hey, I'm back again. A little bit of Remember Berry stuff there.
The Authentic Hydro says, Tim, did you get a chance to see Dave Smith roast Cuomo last week? Not going to lie, probably one of the most satisfying things I've seen in a while. Dave was, you don't go up against Dave, man. You can't do it. He's a comedian and he's good at it. One of my favorite moments was when Cuomo is talking about his interviews with his brother. And he's like, no one thought that what I was doing with my brother was real news. And then Dave goes, I don't know anyone who thinks anything on CNN is real news. And the crowd goes off. I mean, it feels like PBD hired Cuomo so that they could drag him into a room and have everyone point and laugh at him. Because even PBD was joining in on Dave's side, calling out Cuomo for lying. Like,
I mean,
well, because he was lying. It's like, I don't think PBD was intentionally going to be like, I'm going after Cuomo. He was like, well, Cuomo, like, he's like, Chris, this is what you actually said. And they played videos. So if you're a liar, you get caught. Especially if you're a liar on camera.
And I assume he kind of knew what he was going into, right? I mean, a lot of networks have a token other side person that eventually is just the punching bag that you bring out to be in this
Do
position.
they even do that? Do they still do that? I thought that...
Maybe not in this current year, but for a long time, right? You would get, I mean, wasn't Tucker Carlson on CNN or one of the other, a left-leaning site or network?
Remember Hannity and Combs? Mm-hmm. And the poor guy was so outmatched. And Hannity is not exactly a member of the Oxford Union, but in terms of, Sean has his technique, but I don't think they even bother with that anymore. I mean, it's a very offensive thing on the left to be engaged in other sideism.
Yes, and to associate with the wrong people. It's very, very bad.
So let's see. What do we have here? Elf Treehug says, Tim, are you going to have a presidential debate show? They're doing the debate on a Saturday, I believe. Yeah, so we will not have a show. I didn't realize it was on a Saturday.
I thought it was on a Thursday. It's June 27th.
June 27th is a Thursday?
That's what it says on my calendar, but let me double check.
That would make sense. I'm probably wrong. Yep, you are right. I am wrong. I was looking at the wrong month.
Oh.
That's why I thought that's what they were asking, because I was like, I pulled up my calendar and had the wrong month pulled up for some reason. I was like, wait, that's it. That's July. Yes, we will have a presidential debate show. Yeah, I thought it'd be weird that it was on Saturday. We will. And who we can get for that? I'm going to ask Dave Smith.
What's the date on that?
June 27th.
Go for it.
We're doing a show. I think we're doing a show this week. Let me check. Let's see. Or is it next week? Where are we at? Next week?
I think so.
Oh, no. This is...
2 weeks from now.
Oh, really? We have Dave on June 19th.
Do you think they'll move the debate for us?
Come back next week. Who do we have on the 27th? We already have someone on the 27th. Yeah. We might have to work that one out. Because it's a debate show. And so it's probably better to make sure that whoever comes on the night of the debate is there to comment on strict politics and not have some guest who's going to waste their time. But Dave Smith is a great person to have on during a debate show because he's not necessarily pro or anti anybody, although I'm pretty sure he's going to vote for Donald Trump. I'd like to talk to him about it. But they're going to be here in a couple weeks All the Mises crews.
If you're talking about the Libertarian Party strategy, do what you want to do, right? But like Angela was doing a stream today about the strategy that she's planning. It's a good idea to vote for Chase for Liberty. If you're in a blue state, if you're in a purple state, vote for Donald Trump.
No.
Why?
Explain it. Explain it.
Are you, a real question?
Well, if you yeah, why not?
Blue
I
state,
ain't
you're
voting for a
siphoning.
guy who's open borders.
Well, because but the thing is,
I don't care.
Okay, well, fine, it's fine. Then I'm talking about the libertarians, not talking about you.
Mike Termott, who spiked Rechtenwald at the Libertarian Convention by saying, "I will be the VP." I'm pretty sure it was him who said, "If you're not," when Trump was coming out, he said, "If you're not voting on principle, you're wasting your vote." To the idea now that anyone in the Libertarian Party should or would, if they are Mises Caucus, Ron Paul libertarians, support a guy who's woke leftist open borders is a violation of their own principles.
If they are a person that doesn't like Donald Trump and they would vote for Chase Oliver anyways, and they're in the blue state, that's taking a vote from Joe Biden. Because if they're not going to vote
if you're
for,
saying don't vote Biden, I don't care who you vote for.
yeah, don't. Well,
Yeah, if you're woke, vote Chase. Congratulations.
That's the point. Is if you're in a blue state, you vote for Chase because that's taking a vote away from Biden. So hopefully making it.
But I don't think the play for woke people is to tell them hey, if you want to help Trump win, vote for Chase.
They're not supposed to be helping Trump win. They're supposed to be helping the libertarians get to 3%.
Right, but the point is
They're voting for libertarians.
If there's a woke libertarian, they're going to vote libertarian. Those people are happy with Chase. They're cheering for it.
Hopefully.
Right. But Angela's not talking to them.
That's what she said today.
She
literally said
those people are fans of hers and agree with the Mises Caucus.
She said if you're a libertarian and you're in a blue state, it's a good idea to go vote for Chase. If you are with the Mises Caucus and you don't feel good about Chase, that's fine. And it just so happens to be that the libertarians that are the right-leaning libertarians, the Mises Caucus, they're the ones that are most likely to say, you know what, I'd rather vote for Trump because he's not going to trans the kids. He's not Joe Biden and et cetera. They'll say, well, I have a problem with his Israel policy.
Chase is pro-vaccine mandate.
Yeah, he's terrible. And
they tried lying because he was like, but I don't agree with government mandates, just private ones.
Look, man,
I'm like, the mandates were private. There was the one instance where Biden said companies over 100 employees have to vaccinate their employees, but the overwhelming majority of mandates came at a private level. People were locked in their homes, couldn't go anywhere, couldn't go to venues, not because of the government, but because of private businesses barring them from doing so. They decided to do it privately. I don't know, maybe I'm more liberal. Classically, not whatever these people are, that public accommodations must accommodate the public. And then you can't discriminate based on medical or race or other things. But, hey, that's just me.
I mean, I wouldn't vote for Chase in the first place, but, I mean, I'm voting for Donald Trump. I'm being in New Hampshire, so we'll see.
Well, Luke's voting for Trump now.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot.
Luke finally admitted it.
I think there's probably going to be a lot of right-leaning libertarians that whether they admit it or not, they're going to.
Luke's selling a shirt that says, he said, I don't know who you're voting for, but I'm voting for the felon.
Good for you.
And it says convicted felon for president. And so that's one way to come out and be like Trump 2024.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like
Clint, you're next.
Yeah, Clint, come on. Actually, Clint has to. I know, like, Clint will drag his feet because he likes the Libertarian Party and he's pro-Libertarian Party. He's pro-Angela. I get it. I back all the stuff you're doing. But you're going to vote for Trump, Clint. You know it.
All right. Let's read some more.
In your heart, you know.
Yeah. A lot of people are, yeah. All right, here we go. We got Buy Bitcoin Daily who says, not first. Hey, Tim, huge fan and Timcast member. My business is on public square and I do everything I can to push culture in the right direction. I'm hoping the community can help with my give, send, go. Jacob Stewart, thank you so much. Well, we'll take a look. Best of luck, good sir. Polly Pure says, where is Ian? Gallivanting about Florida, I guess. Well, we're over here selling his coffee. You know what I want to do is set up
like a tracker for him, so that way we can figure out where he is.
Yeah, cat collar.
Yeah. Like an
I
air
want to set
tag.
up a coffee contest between Alex Stein and Ian. So we need to make Ian's promo code and get all that set up, but then basically have them do, like a coffee off. See who can sell the most coffee or something. I don't know. It'd be fun.
Yeah.
There is no graphene in Ian's coffee.
There should be.
It just tastes like.
But Ian will be back. I don't know how long, but he'll be back in about a week or so. So you'll probably see him make an appearance. He's off doing Ian stuff. He's in Florida.
floating around Florida.
That's what he does. Nick Terpstra it was funny because people kept spamming that Ian got fired. And I'm like, Ian came up to me, he's like, hey, I'm going to go hang out in Florida for a little bit. And then I'll let you know when I'm in town. I'm like, yeah, do you think, man? It's all good. And he's like, all right, see you later, guys. And that was
The weirdest firing of all time.
And we're like, he's getting paid. He's got like the best job in the world.
He got fired and he's getting paid. What a time.
He's doing whatever he wants to do. He's
Didn't
getting
get
paid. You guys
fired,
don't
I'm just
coffee.
kidding.
We got to set up his promo code and get everything because the point is like, that's his coffee. He'll get a cut and all that stuff. But I don't know. I guess, he'll be on when he feels like coming on. He used to be on all the time, but I think he wants to focus on some other projects. So, more power to him. He'll be back, I think, in a week and a half or so for a few days.
I think he's chasing chicks in Florida. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, I think all of the family talk is getting to him.
Yeah, maybe.
Everybody's tweeting at him like, Ian, have a family. But that's for him. All right. Nick Terpstra says, haven't been religiously watching in some time. Was really upset when the Mises candidates didn't win the LP nomination. Thought about RFK, and I really don't trust Trump. But what am I going to do other than give to y'all? Vote Trump. Look, man, it's weird to me because, I was even talking to Dave Smith about this. I don't know if it matters if you like Trump. He's the first president in 40 years to actually withdraw troops and not start any wars. And it's just like, my attitude is, Chase Oliver's not going to win. You're not going to get that guy to 3% because he's for open borders and immigration is the top single issue right now among voters. He is anti-American voter base. And you can argue that we stand on principles, even if it's against the wish of the average person. That's fine, but that means you're not getting 3%. And then the libertarians have the option of Donald Trump, who he can curse the wind. He can fart in your general direction, but he didn't start any wars. And then they go, yeah, well, he still drone bombed. And I'm like, sure did. And he didn't start any wars. So I'm telling you, it's like you can win one thing or just keep losing everything. And I'm not saying it means you should vote for him. I'm just saying for me, my mentality is like, look, the economy was good. There were problems with spendings. I understand the drone strikes because he was pulling troops back and needing to maintain security in a certain area. So that's how you wean away from these wars. And the peace agreements, the Abraham Accords, the North Korea stuff, I'm like, we ain't got any other president who's ever tried to bring a peace like that before. And I'll give a shout out too, because at the Libertarian Convention, when I mentioned before the Trump interview, I was talking to a bunch of libertarians. I was like, I need to ask Trump about that North Korea stuff. They were all cheering for it. Every single libertarian I talked to said what Trump did with North Korea needs to get more attention because how often have we had a president who's tried to actually bring peace to an enemy nation we're at war with? And what Trump did was amazing. And I'm like, take it. Take what you can get. Because Biden's the antithesis. He's more war. He's more World War III. Trump's going to give you a lot of the same as Biden. That's true. I'm happy with what Trump brings. But take the anti-war stuff.
I also think, November is still a ways away. Think about whoever you want to cast your vote for president, but look down ticket. Who would you vote for the House? Who would you vote for the Senate? Who would you vote for your state representative? And get that it's a presidential election year. It is a big deal, but you should probably do your research on the other candidates who are on the ticket because that is extremely important. Regardless of who you see in the White House, there are a lot of other aspects of governance, especially the ones that are local and affect you personally.
Jacob Hawley says, Phil, crew, I need legal advice. Or says, I need help/advice.
Thank goodness we have a lawyer on tonight.
My family is, he didn't say legal, that was my mistake. He said, my family is dying away. My girlfriend passed away. I can't afford my mom's heart meds anymore. I don't know what to do. I don't want to beg for money and I don't know how to ask for help. I fear the question, you okay? Because I'm not.
There's so much
lift heavy thing.
Well, I mean, lift heavy thing, always lift heavy thing. But there's so much that we don't know about your individual situation that it's really, really, really difficult to give you any kind of advice at all. The best thing that I can think of is like Tim said, if you're not exercising, go exercise daily or at least a few times a week.
And say hi to people in the gym.
That's a really good idea too. Yes, please.
Talk to people in meet space.
Yeah.
You need human contact.
That's why we're doing the coffee shop. Because then if we had the coffee shop, I'd say, come hang out, meet people. Yeah. But it's not there yet.
Don't stay home. Just like Ron said, get out, do things, and talk to people. Even if it's just hey, how you doing? To the people that you regularly see at whether it be your coffee shop or the convenience store you go to, you can start building small you can start building small relationships that can turn into more fulfilling relationships, friendships as well as romantic relationships. But you need people in your life, and if you're losing people, you need to go out and continue to make friends. And it gets harder as you get older. I know, I understand, but like still, you need to get out of your house. Don't sit at home. Go to the gym, exercise, take care of yourself, and hopefully those things will at least put you on a path to having a stronger mindset so you can deal with the challenges that are invariably going to come in your life, because everyone deals with these kind of things to some degree. So
All right.
that's the best I got.
OCP official rep says Megadeth is the greatest band of all time. FJB.
They're pretty great, and I'm pretty happy that I get to hang out with
I
them
don't know
this
if you guys heard of this band called All That Remains, though. I've heard it's really cool.
I saw that.
Mike Lindell's going to go on tour with them, I heard.
Is he gonna?
I just invited him to Phil's show, and Phil was like, what
It'd be great if he came out, just one
put
day.
pillows in the whole. I mean, if he wants to come out to a show, if Mike Lindell, if you want to come to an All That Remains show, you let me know. I'll make sure you get on the list.
There was.
I just read that metal makes people commit suicide.
I would.
I've been
I
50
don't-
years.
But you mean like listening to it? I think there's other music that's more
There
likely.
seems to be
Say
like.
that about video games too, right? It makes them all kinds of crazy, but I don't think that's true.
I mean, I'm being a little bit facetious. I did see someone tweet a report to that effect, but I didn't know that was a pressing issue.
I saw that guy tweeting at you that you were a Christian band. That was funny.
Yeah.
He's like, and then he was like, "Oh, sorry, genuine mistake. I was thinking of somebody else."
It was yeah.
Oh,
'Cause-
genuine mistake opened for the Clash back in '87. I was there.
I believe you.
Are you going to go see Phil on tour this summer?
If they
He's
come
on the
to
Destroy All Enemies tour.
they come to then they won't be coming in my way. They're going to look for enemies, not friends.
Oh, this is great. Jason 410 says, "Tim, are the coins made in China?" LOL.
China.
China.
Of course they are.
They
They weren't bragging about being made in the USA. So
I just love how it's like layered in pure 999 silver. You guys, it's still worth the money, right? I'm saying this to the President Coin people. Even if you didn't layer it in silver, you tell me it's pig iron stamped with a picture of Biden in jail, I'm buying it.
you have stock in this company. What?
No. Pig iron. Congratulations, Cultural Revolution. Gandalf the Bay says members of Congress trading cards based on what they do in office. So we are working on a game called Debate Me. And it is based off of poker, but what we're basically making is, I'll give you the gist of the game because it's almost done. It's a card game, trading card, collectible. There's different power levels. I think it's 1 through 12, and then there is the prime, the leader of each faction. There's left, right, centrist, or no, yeah, wait, left, right, centrist, and establishment are the 4 factions. And for anybody who knows poker deck. But we're going to have a base set where you can have like a Barack Obama, and it's just a graphic of him like pressing the button and blowing up kids. And that's basically the ace of establishment. But then we're also going to have special cards with special abilities. So it changes the function of how Texas Hold'em would be played, or any poker game for that matter. So God Emperor Trump, it's the GOTUS card. It's a golden foil we're making. And it has a special ability that, based on some costs, and I won't give out too much away for the details, but the single card can be played as though it's 2 aces, so the best possible hand. We're basically taking poker and then adding special abilities and customizable decks. The art is almost all done for the base set, and then we're just going to be rolling them out. Simple version of this is there's going to be tradable Nancy Pelosi cards where she's like, on a throne of ice cream with poor people around her and stuff like that. And then people are going to want to buy those cards. We're going to do... probably not a good time for this joke, but because we have a bunch of different sets, 2 of the cards we're making, one is, Ultimate Alex Jones. We're not going to use any real names. It's all going to be parody, but it's Alex Jones ripping his shirt off, and it's one of the most powerful cards. But then we also had Bankrupt Alex Jones, and it's him sitting on a street corner holding a sign saying, "We'll call frogs gay for money." And it's like a weaker card. And as I was saying, poor timing for the joke, considering everything going on. We wish Alex Jones the best, but like it's to make fun of everything. And then we're going to routinely roll out new designs and everything. And the point is to make trading cards for news events and cultural events, and even have celebrities like Robert De Niro, of course. We're going to make fun of him. And we've actually got a lot of it done. And it's called Debate Me because the point of the game is you're trying to make the best possible debate team. and you invite your followers to the debate, and whoever wins the debate wins all the followers, and now they follow you. So you get it. For those that know how to play poker, you completely understand what we're saying. All right, we'll read some more super chats. What have we here? Cam says, I copied the official 2024 president prison collection and it didn't come up on Google. I went to Brave and it worked just fine. How dare you Google? Yeah, it was hard to find. It was weird. It's presidentprison.com. I don't know why it doesn't come up. Maybe it's just too new. I don't know. Purple says, you named a bag of coffee after Ian. Where is he? He's wherever he wants to be. I don't know. You know what I mean? Of like that's kind of how we roll. He's writing parody songs or something. Literally.
Is that what he's doing in Florida?
Yeah, I think he's writing parody music.
Oh.
He's hanging out with this, what's this guy named Toby Turner?
Weird Al Yankovic? Is that Ian's future?
Oh, free country.
They wrote a song based off that Pearl Jam. You saw that one?
Yes, I saw. I didn't listen to the song, but I saw that he was posting about it. Yes.
Well, the song's called Nothing Else Matters.
I hope not.
No. The original song from Pearl Jam or whatever.
Oh.
And then he changed it to Black Lives Matter.
Oh, boy.
And so it's that classic 90s grunge song, but it was pretty funny.
Great song.
Yeah. All right, we'll grab one more before we jump over to that call-in show. Mr. Laxative says to Tim, when is the Timcast app coming? It exists already on Android. I have no idea about the iPhone. Maybe we'll have to get our creative director on it, who's probably listening, and he's in charge. So, Dane. Dane, you're in charge. Get it, figure it out. Yeah. All right, everybody, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Share the show with your friends. Head over to timcast.com. Click join us. We got a spicy members only show coming up for you. The Biden campaign's talking about us. We've made it, Mom. You can follow the show at Timcast. You can follow me at Timcast on X and Instagram, Timcast IRL, everywhere else on Rumble. Ron, do you want to shout anything out?
Ron Coleman. Come on.
All right, Phil.
How do people find you?
Ron Coleman. Go to X. Everything flows through X for me.
I am Phil That Remains on Twix. I'm Phil That Remains official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. We're going to be on tour with Megadeth and Mudvayne this summer on the Destroy All Enemies tour. It starts August 2nd and goes through September 29th, I believe. You can check out our new single, Divine, on Apple Music, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon Music, Deezer. I think it's
Say
Deezer.
it every night and you don't know what it is.
Someone tweeted at me the other day, too. I think it's Deezer. Yeah, don't forget, the left lane is for crime. Hannah Claire.
It's been so fun to have you here, Ron. I'm glad you could join us in studio. I'm Hannah Claire Brimble. I'm a writer for SCNR.com. That's Scanner News. Follow all of their work at Timcast News on Twitter and Instagram. I'm on Instagram at HannahClaire.b, and I'm on Twitter at HannahClaireB. Guys, thank you so much for everything you do. Bye, Serge.
So, Hannah Claire, get those goals this week, guys.
Holy crap, dude. It's Deezer, and you've been saying Doozer this whole time.
It's Deezer.
That poor company.
I'm sorry.
All right, everybody. We'll see you all over at timcast.com in about 1 minute. Thanks for hanging out.